to go to the Google Docs and take out the questions. Because the entire sheet, I'm sorry I'm late. I'm not sorry I'm late. I just spent 45 minutes preparing today's class. So go to the Google Docs. And I just want you to follow the sheet. That's all I'm going to do. Okay? In other words, we have a few days left. We have today and tomorrow, to be candid. Again, I don't know what our Gimel Tali schedule is, but it's got to be figured out. The Hanhala has to tell me. But today and tomorrow we have. Today's Tuesday, tomorrow's Wednesday. And I decided that the little time we have left is we're going to talk about Elikus. Okay, every time we get to Elikus, I always tell you, it's a long sugya, we can't get into it. Well, we're getting into it a little bit. When we're done, we're going to be in the same place that we were when we started, but nevertheless, okay? The Rebbe's question in the beginning of Perek Yud Aleph was, Aber Fart, after all, the Eidin Seif, which goes into Atzilus, is after the Tzimtzum, and it's after Hislapshus. It's not the same thing as Eidin Seif is by itself. And then he answers, no, it's the same. It's not. The answer is it's the same. Why is it the same? Ki afal pi shehishavas yitzvidas atmona de hatzimtzum u'makampodi hayadua mekomo kom Eidin Seif shemislabish beteichen hu ha'odem Eidin Seif mamish k'mei shul l'mayla me'atzimtzum v'zo inyan akav. In other words, as much as Eidin Seif changes, Eidin Seif hasn't changed. That's what the Alter Tzemach Tzedek answers. In other words, Elikus, godliness. And I'm not lying to you when I tell this to you. Chassidim spent thousands of hours of their lives trying to understand this concept. Because Elikus, in a lot of ways, is the Eibishter. Elikus is the Eibishter. The Shemith. You say Adnai, Havaya, Tzvokes, Shakai, Ekye, Elikim. You mean, according to this Maimed, according to Kabbalah, the Midas, Eidin Seif, not Chas v'Shalom the Midas, but the Eidin Seif which is Slavish the Midas. So in many ways, Elikus is the Eibishter. On the other hand, Elikus is not the Eibishter at all. On the other hand, Elikus has levels. So Chassidim spend so much time trying to understand what this is. Now, like I told you yesterday, and I want to go in the order of the questions, but I'll just cheat. I'm sorry, I have a shaitel on my head because I can't get a haircut, and it's driving me mad. The Alter Rebbe's Bayimid is the Hovanyin Eidin Saf. The Tzemach Tzedek's Bayimid is the Hovanyin Eidin Saf. The later Rabbeim use a different name. In other words, like I told you, the Mashpia, who I feel knew the Sprach, that I had a shtikl shaykhs with, was Reb Melech. And it's called Oir V'Shefa. The later Rabbeim, in other words, in Tem Chatmimim and Lubavitch, as I'm assuming, Reb Melech learned by Reb Shlomo Chaim. And I'm imagining that this is where he got the Sprach from. The Sugi of Oir V'Shefa. The Sugi of Oir V'Shefa really is the Sugi of Eidin Seif. That's what it is. In order to understand the Eidin Seif, you have to understand the Sugi of Oir V'Shefa. So when I was a kid and I went to Cheder, I mean yeshiva, and Mashpiyim said, okay, we're learning a Maimer. What Maimer we're learning? Oir V'Shefa. Oir V'Shefa means really the Mishalim that allow us to understand Eidin Seif. Okay? So this is what we're going to do for today and for tomorrow. Whatever time we have, this is what we're doing. We don't finish, we won't finish, we finish. But I wrote now a bunch of questions. Now I suspect that by tomorrow morning I'll rewrite these questions. Basically how it goes. You talk, you teach, you think, you learn. It's kumt alamol zu klarkeit. But I want you to follow the questions. I want you to do me a favor. Look at the questions. If you want to be a really nice guy, you'll actually write down the answers. And probably you won't only be nice to yourself, you'll be nice to yourself as well. Question 1. Godliness isn't ... and it isn't ... either. Godliness is not a creation. It's not a creation. It's the Shepinish. It's not a nivra. And it isn't the Eibishter either. It isn't the Eibishter either. Godliness is not a nivra, and godliness is not boire. It's not boire anymore, and it's not nivra yet. That's what godliness is. That's number 1. 2. In words, what is one of the differences between God and godliness? And this is a very dangerous question. You're not allowed to write this. These words you're not allowed to write, but I wrote them anyway. In words, what is one of the differences? What's between Hashem and Hashemliness? And the answer, Chavre, is the word Metzius. The Eibishter is a Motzi Bilti Motzi. Motzi, what's Lashon? Motzi Loi B'Metzius. Hashem is a Metzius, Bilti Metzius Nimtza. Hashem exists. Because it's impossible to say that Hashem doesn't exist. But Hashem's existence is not existential. In other words, if something exists, you say, where is it? When is it? And what is it? Where is the Eibishter? When is the Eibishter? And what is the Eibishter? And the answer to all three of those questions is nothing. He doesn't exist any place. He doesn't exist at any time. He has no definition. So how could he exist without existing? That's the Eibishter. It's a definition. And of course, when you speak about the Eibishter and use definitions, it's for sure wrong and it's possibly kfira. But nevertheless, mit verstehen. Eure in Seif, Getlichkeit, is the Eibishter as a Metzias. He exists. He exists in relationship with other things. He can have a shaykhis with Kalim. He exists in relationship with Mokum. He exists in relationship with Zman. Okay, now what's his definition? That's what we're going to be discussing. In other words, if the difference between the Eibishter and Eibishter Linus is the Eibishter doesn't have any time and the Eibishter has no relationship with space, and Eidin Seif does. And then, of course, the third point, the Eibishter has no definition, and Eidin Seif does have a definition. We're going to be spending these 2 days trying a little bit to define what Eibishter is. Hashem is Motzi Lei B'Metzias, Eidin Seif is Motzi B'Metzias. Okay? That's the answer to question 2. Now, I'm going to give you a chance to ask a question or to actually think about what I just said, because I know that what I just said, even though I've told it to you 5 times this year, is not a simple concept. So, okay, so I'm going to count to 10.
So I kind of missed this last question. So it's Metzias and Bilti Metzias?
No. The Eibishter is Loi Bilti Metzias. And the Eibishter is Metzias. Okay? Now, what are the Gedolim of Metzias? I already know what the 2 questions that I'm going to add for tomorrow already, yeah? What are the Gedolim of Metzias? L'chol ha'poches. A relationship. A relationship doesn't mean you're limited by this. A relationship means you interface with this. A relationship with Mokum, a relationship with Zman, and a definition. Now, have you ever heard of Tzimtzum Rishon? Have you ever heard of Tzimtzum Rishon?
Yes.
I'm talking to Mendel.
Yeah.
You heard of Tzimtzum Rishon, yeah? What is the first rule of Tzimtzum Rishon? What has Rabbi Paltiel taught you in his repeating the same ideas over and over again? What did he teach you about Tzimtzum Rishon?
I'm not exact. Maybe Siluk?
You can't have Tzimtzum Rishon without Mokum. Did you hear what I said or not?
Mokum?
You cannot have Tzimtzum unless you have Mokum. If the Eibishter was removed, he has to be removed from somewhere. Remember that?
Tzimtzum like a pshutah.
That's a different sugya. Tzimtzum like pshutei is one side of the coin. Tzimtzum is the other side of the coin. Even if it's Tzimtzum like pshutei, doesn't mean there's no mokum. Okay, it's not the geya yet. You can't have tzimtzum without mokum. Yeah, which means automatically what? That you cannot say tzimtzum about atzmus. You can only say tzimtzum about oid. This is one of the biggest chadushim of the Alter Rebbe. That Amoiru Bezgalas. Tzimtzum doesn't touch Moed, only Oyer. You know why? Because you can only say Tzimtzum if you say Mokum. The Eibush has no Mokum. You can't say you remove them. You listening?
What's this connection with Metzias?
Because that's the word. Since Eidin Seif is a Metzias, and the definition of Metzias is. Now I'm being very careful in my language. I'm not saying it's limited to time and space. It has a shaykhis to time and space. That's why in Oyer you could say Tzimtzum, in Moed you cannot say Tzimtzum. So question 2 reads, in words, what is one of the differences between God and godliness? The answer is Hashem is a Bilti Metzias, and Eid is a Metzias. Now, next question, what's the difference between Metzias and Bilti Metzias? So I says Metzias has l'chol ha'poches 3 things: a relationship with time, a relationship with space, and a definition. Hashem, who's a Bilti Metzias, has no relationship with time, no relationship with space, and no definition. Do you follow? Good. And I hope everybody else is following as well. I mean, it's not a chavruse, it's a shir. Okay? So when you talk about godliness, the second thing you have to know about godliness, the first you have to know about godliness, it's not God anymore, it's not creation yet. The second thing you have to know about godliness, there is a metzias. And it has a shayches to Zman, it has a shayches to Mokum, and has a shayches to a definition. Did you learn Chitas the last 3 days, Tanya? You didn't?
I read it.
You read it. Okay, so one of the things that you read was the following. If you call Hashem a Chacham, it's a joke. If you call Hashem a Chacham, it's a joke. Like a person who says about Chachma Muka, She'i Efshel Masha Shabayadayim, Kol Hashemaya Yitzchak Lei. To call the Eibishter a Chacham is a joke. But the Eibishter, if you call Erein Seif Chacham, it's not a joke. It's hard to understand. That's what the whole thing Alter Rebbe is trying to figure out. How could you say Sfiris if the Eibush is Pasha B'tachas Apshitos? But the idea that calling Hashem a Chacham is a joke is true in the Eibishter, because he's a Motzi Leibe Metzias, not a Metzias. Now, Erein Seif is also Pasha B'tachas Apshitos. But you wouldn't say that saying about Erein Seif Chacham is Kol Hashemaya Yitzchak Lei, you would say that we don't understand how it is. Because there's again, it's such a stupid thing. What's between God and godliness? It's between God and the tooth fairy. But we have to use words. The Eibush there is a Matzah Leibe Metzias. It means he has no shaychus to Zman and no shaychus to Mokum and no shaychus to definition. Masha Ein Kein Erein Seif does have a shaychus to Zman. It doesn't have a shaychus to Mokum. You could say that you removed it from the Mokum, and therefore has a shaychus to definition. You follow? Menachem Mendel, are you listening?
How can a Metzias be Dveikus?
That's the quality of its Metzias. Why can't a Metzias be Dveikus?
Because then we say that like Bato is more when you're Metzias and you're connected to another Metzias, and Dveikus is it's not a separate Metzias.
No. Bato means I'm a separate Metzias that becomes connected. Dveikus means my whole Metzias is my connection. It doesn't mean I can't be a Metzias. It means that my Metzias is Dveikus. My definition is Dveikus. The Eibishter doesn't have a definition. Erein Seif has a definition, and the definition is Dveikus. Okay, so I already wrote on the margin 2 more questions, right? You have questions 1 and 2. So I wrote after 2 more questions, right? What is the definition of Metzias? And I already told you the answer to that question. A relationship with Zman, a relationship with Mokum, and some kind of a definition. And then there's one more. This is the Rebbe's Hadron, yeah? How does the Rambam say this? How does the Rambam speak about the difference between God and godliness? Now, of course, this Rambam is in Lekutei Sichos Shon L'Sidereinu. The Rambam doesn't say it at all. But the way the Rebbe taught us the Rambam, yeah? How does the Rambam say it? That the Eibishter is called an Einei Motzei. And the Eibishter lowers himself to be a Motzei Rishon. If you learn the first 2 halachas and Rambam, Yala la das shehu einei matzah, the highest level of das is the Eibishter's einei matzah. And you say there's Amud HaChochmas leida shesham matzah rish, doesn't mean that Hashem exists, but that Hashem exists as a Metzias. Hashem existing as a Metzias, and the world of the Rambam is Erein Seif in the world of Kabbalah and Chassidus. The Eibishter has a Gilui, which is a Metzias, that brings him close to us, which as the Rambam explains in Halacha Gimel or Daled, that makes the world emes. So I wrote a whole bunch of questions. I spent a very long time.
So the mitzvah is for believing in like Ein Sof, not really Atzmos.
I don't understand that question.
Because then we say that because you need to believe that Hashem is a Metzias.
It's not. I don't think the word is believe. The word is understand.
Understand. So you can only understand.
Not only you're mechuyev to understand that the Eibishter doesn't create the world with his eyes closed. He creates the world with his eyes open. Because the first thing he creates is his own Metzias. You say that Abudas Achabas Leida Shesha Matzei Rishon for whom Amti Kol Nimtza, so that the world should have emes. That the Eibishter doesn't just make us without paying attention from the Madreg of Einei Matzeh. He makes us with paying attention. How does he make us with paying attention? He makes himself into a Metzias Nimtza. I'm going to make himself into a Metzias Nimtza. He's a Metzias and we're a Metzias, so we can have a kesher with him. Don't you understand? This is pure Kabbalah. It's a Rambam, but it's pure Kabbalah. Einei Matzeh is Atzmas. Matzeh Rishon, now the Rambam doesn't have the oisius of Oyer. Doesn't have that Sprach, Bechlau. But Matzeh Rishon is very similar to the Kabbalistic idea of the Metzias of Oyer, as opposed to the Bilti Metzias of Moyer.
Shvat 908.
Okay. Now, Rabbi say, I love Mendel Schneiderman very much. I really do. And I want him to ask all of his questions. But I want you also to, Sarah Chavrusa that you're listening into, if anybody else has any comments, I have time for this. This is all I'm doing. I'm talking about these questions. Okay, like I said, I'm going to get off here and go and fix the sheet. I'm going to add 2 more questions to the sheet. Maybe I'll make it a second sheet so you shouldn't lose the answers that you write in. I'm going to add the 2 questions of what's the Gedolim of Metzias and what's the Rambam's. How do you say Metzias? How do you say that Metzias versus Bilti Metzias? How do you say Oyer and Moed in the Rambam? And the answer is Einei Matzeh and Matzeh Rishon. Does anybody else have any questions?
Did the Rambam actually think of this when he wrote this?
I think, yeah. I don't necessarily think that the Rambam had the signet of Kabbalah. It's like asking, when the Nevi'im said Divrei Nevuah, did they know about Atzilus? They understood it on such a level of Hafshata that it was a Memela Koilel, this signet. The Chiddush of the Leiner Mekubalim is signet, is language, is words. But the Higoyin, the Oyer, yes. So the Rambam didn't have the signet of Einei Amoy, the Chazal no Musar of Einei Sof. But when he understood the idea of Einei Matzeh and Matzeh Rishon, what the Rebbe says in his Sikha about Einei Matzeh and Matzeh Rishon is for sure Pshat and Rambam. Because otherwise the Rambam doesn't make any sense. It's just common sense. You learn that the Rambam, like a Mesnagid, it doesn't make any sense. The Rambam wastes so many words. Shalei kifidarke klal klal. And the Rebbe gives a clear way of understanding that every word the Rambam is b'diuk, and it's up Kabbalah. So it's not in the signet of Kabbalah, but it's in the Higoyin of Kabbalah and Chassidus. Okay? Does anybody else have any questions or comments? So I'm moving on to question 3. Okay? God, and this I wrote as an ichus. Instead of asking a question, I just wrote a statement. Godliness has no self-identity. It is not bottle, it is dvekis. What is the difference between bittul and dvekis? Right? This is all review from yesterday. What's the difference between the word bittul and the word dvekis? Now, Chaver, understand that when I use the word bittul and dvekis, I'm a little bit being dishonest, because Chassidus calls dvekis bittul b'metzias. So it's really bittul ayesh and bittul b'metzias. But I'm being arrogant and chutzpahdik and disingenuous, and I'm using these words to serve my purposes, the way I want to teach it. Bittul means bittul ayesh. Bittul means first I'm me and then I give myself to you. That's a touch bittul. Dveikus means there was never a me. My metzias from the moment I was an expression of my source. In other words, dveikus is more than bittul. Dveikus doesn't mean I serve you. Dveikus means there is no I. Dveikus means, I know this is so cliche-ish, we all grow up hearing these expressions that we make a joke out of them. Dveikus means sinitoka ich. Dveikus means there never was a me that should become bottle. My whole metzias is an expression of the Eibishter. In other words, dveikus is more bittul than bittul. Even though dveikus is a metzias. Menachem Mendel Schneiderman, Oid is a metzias. And there's a lot of pratim to the metzias of it, a lot of badregas to the metzias of it, including that very bad word, gilui. Ein Sof is such a metzias that it can even be gilui. The worst level of Ein Sof is that it's gilui. Because that's the real metzias. But even when it's helim, and even when it's etzim, it's also the mizakt ashtikal metzias and has the shaykhs at least on some levels of some kind of a zman, and some kind of a makam, and some kind of a definition. Okay? So the answer to question 3 is godliness has no self-identity. In other words, it's not bottle. What I mean is bittul ayesh. It is dveikis. What is the difference between bittul and dveikus? Bittul means first I am and then I give myself to you. In the wording of the Rambam, and I get to the Malachim, Yedim es atzmam, v'yedim es ilasam. First they know themselves and then they know their source. Dveikus means I never was a Metzias. My whole Metzias is a gili of my mother. Questions or comments? Question 4. It used to be called the sugya of lahavin in Yenerin Seif. What is it called now? What is it called in the last few generations? Does anybody know the answer to that question? Very good. Thank you for knowing that. Because if you would know that, I'd melt. I'm in an office with no windows and no air conditioner. It's like 80 degrees hot. I got a fan blowing the hot air on me. If you would answer that question, I would melt. It's the sugya of Eir v'Shefa. And again, I learned in yeshiva. My mashpiyim taught me the sugya of Eir v'Shefa. And by the way, nobody ever told me that the sugya of Eir v'Shefa is about eating stuff. I was supposed to figure that out on my own. It took me about 40 years, 35 years. But I finally figured the sugya of Eir v'Shefa really is the sugya of eating safe. The sugya of Eir v'Shefa is the language that you need to understand the sugya of eating safe. Now, question 5. What is the upside and what is the downside of Shefa? What is the Maila of Shefa and what is the Chasadan of Shefa? Now, we did this yesterday. Does anybody know the answer? You got to admit I'm a great teacher.
You get amazing. Something like the Pnimius, but it's not everything. Something like that.
You get the Mafia.
The Chasadan of Shefa is you're getting a Mahus Dvarma. You're getting only something. Nobody can be mashpia his whole self. It's not shayach. There's no way I could give you all of me. Not possible. The only dugma for being mashpia all of a person is tipa. Is the mashal of tipa. That's called the hashpa atzmis. It's a weird sugya. It's in ranat v'chula. But without exception, I can't give you all of me. If I give you a shefa, the expression that's used is a mahus dvarma. It's something. It's epis. It's not everything. That's the chesaron of shefa. What's the Maila of Shefa? The Maila of Shefa is the Mashpia, is Nitfas in the Hashpah. That the one giving is giving himself. When I pour you a glass of water, I have to stop smoking my cigarettes. Because I have to pick up the bucket and pour it into your cup and then lang it. That's the tight Shefa. The one giving is giving a piece of himself. So the Maila, the Chesaron of Shefa is that it's only something, it's not everything. A Rav is teaching a Talmud at Varseichel. While the Rav is teaching the Talmud at Varseichel, that Rav cannot be thinking a different Seichel at the same time. It's not possible. Because there's a Hashpah from Rav to Talmud, and the Hashpah from Rav to Talmud is giving him a Mahuz Dvarma, only one idea, but he's giving him a piece of himself. Okay? Questions or comments?
So if the Shabbos is taking himself alone, and Torah doesn't take the self, but I thought it was also an expression of the self.
You gotta wait. That's the next question. Yeah.
Wait, but I still don't get it. I don't know if I get it.
Talk to me. Maybe wait till we do oil. Then you can ask. You can have the contrast. Question 6. What is the upside and what is the downside of oil? What's the mile of the mashal of Eid and what's the chesed of the mashal of Eid? Anybody? Okay, one person at a time. Who's talking first? What does that mean? Talk in English. Don't talk in holy language.
Don't meet yourself.
Yeah.
Huh? You don't have the Mashpia itself, but you have the whole Haspar coming from it.
The mile of Eid is that it's Oid Me'ein HaMoed. Everything that the Moed is Nimshach in the Oid. The Chesaron is, it's called the Ha'ora. Oid cannot be given. It can only be shown. Shown with a W. In other words, shown not that it it's that you could see it. Shone means shined. Okay, in English, I'm getting stuck on the different words that the same word that means different things. I don't mean shone laharais. I mean shone lehoir, to make it shine. The only way to get oir is memela. That's the magic word. Oir has to be memela. Oir cannot be hashpah, because oir is everything. Whatever the moed is, the oir is mashpia. The moed is ain't safe, the oir is ain't safe. The moed has 1,000 miles or believable miles, the oir has many miles. That's the mile of oir. The chesaron of oir is that there's no mashpia, nobody's giving it. You can't give oir. Oir is memela. Oir comes from the Eibishter memela, without an effort. Because if a Yachal, the Eibishter would make an effort, so that would become a mashpia. So then he would be giving of himself. So memela would be in of tzimtzum. So it would be shefa. So shefa's mile is oir's chesaron, and oir's mile is shefa's chesaron. The chesaron of shefa is you're not getting everything. The chesaron of oir is that no one's giving it to you; it's coming to you memela. The mile of shefa is that the mashpia is giving you himself in the hashpah, and the huge chesaron of oir, is that the oir comes from the Eibishter memela, not b'derech pa'ula, not giving you oir because the Eibishter is the oir is. Because Hashem exists, I'm going to use Rambam language. Because Hashem exists, the Metzias of Hashem exists. The Metzias of Hashem is oir. It's b'derech memela. Okay, that's questions 5 and 6. Now, Rabbi Nachman Mendel, now you can ask me your question. Okay?
I have a quick question. If you're anyways getting like like you're getting everything from the mashpia, what does it matter if he's giving it to you with b'derech memela? Like you're getting everything, no?
You're getting a reflection of everything, which means that you have every mile. The only thing you don't have is someone giving it to you. You don't find that to be problematic? My father's or Gesundsein, my father is Nebuch an Ovid. Fortunately, I'm not an Ovid. Ovid takes everything seriously, and therefore Ovid has to create everything in himself in his own head. My father says, what is wrong with the person inviting you into their home and serving you a delicious meal, but he's not there when you eat it? He's not there. S. You follow?
What's the problem?
What's the problem? You have food? The problem is, it's every mile except one. It's not human. For animals, it's perfect. Because all an animal needs is food. A person needs a connection. That's why he's a person. The Eibishter gives you everything, but doesn't give you himself. Think about it. Think about it. He gives you every mile, but he doesn't give you himself. That means you're living in a world that's mehusei shitchi. Its substance is that it has no reality. This is why Ein Sof becomes so complicated. Okay, Ein Sof becomes very, very complicated. It becomes very complicated. Now, I'm going to say something derech agav. Okay, I'm going to make a note on my page to add this to the list of questions. The Alter Rebbe already. And our Rebbe in 1,000 Maimorim in 101 different ways violate the law of Ermein HaMoed. You hear, what's the whole word of Ermein HaMoed? The whole word of Ermein HaMoed is you have everything but nothing. Correct? You have all the milas, all the light that comes from the source, but you don't have the Eibishter himself. The Alter Rebbe already says, if the Eid is be'emes mein HaMoed, you have to have Moed also. Anishis nish mein HaMoed. In Chassidus, they take the Moed of Ermein HaMoed and they twist it and they mangle it and they pretzel it. Wow. Kfilo klisha, like it says in the Sa'adil Sudasa. On the one hand, the classic, the Sugya Ve'er V'Shefa, when you learn Zeitz Chukas Amachvav, which is the Sugya Ve'er V'Shefa, What do they tell you about oid? It's memele, it's only ha'ara, there's nothing from the etzem. But you should know that the Rabbeim then add to oid mein amoid so many things which are really moed sheba oid that it gets very, very tricky. I'm saying this derech agav. I don't want to go into this. I just want you to know that when you're done with oid mein amoid and Chassidus Chabad, it's so much more than the oid mein amoid. The way we understand the sugi of Eid v'Shefa. It changes. The Rabbeim add, and our Rebbe, what the Rebbe does to the sugi of Eid Mein Hamoed. When he's finished Eid Mein Hamoed, you're trying to figure out how is Eid Mein Hamoed not Shefa. But the chesaron of Eid is that the key word is memela. The secondary word is ha'ora. Eid comes from the source memela. The Eibush is not giving us. Because if Hashem is giving, then he has to give himself. If he gives himself, there's a lot of kashas. One of them is Shefa, the second question is Shanisi, so it has to be Mamela. Okay? Questions or comments?
Why are not Shefa?
Zil gemeir. Hast a ganzen Leben und a gute Kappele. However, you have to find those Maimorim where the Rabbeim say that's what he gets the Kedus Simon Chof about Yesh Meyayin, right? Yesh Meyayin is already Moesh Abeir. Wie kommt Yesh and Eir? It's only Ha'ara, it's only Chitzanias, and the Rebbe builds on this so many deeper in Yonim you have no idea. Our Rebbe adds so much to the Sugya of Eir Mein Amoed, but we're not doing that now. That you'll do on your own, and you'll write a pilpul, and you'll make a sefer, and you'll be a Gadol Yisrael, Mitzvah Hashem, a Gezunte Gadol Yisrael. Question 7. Huh? Yes, yeah. Because Chol Mechava Veiteru Mitzvah V'ad Sheb'Shem Yisrael Yichuna. What means the Mechava Veiteru Mitzvah? What do you think the Frierdiker Rebbe meant? He meant Cheva Veiteira. He didn't say Ola Teira. He said Mechava Veiteira. Nu zeste? Okay, Rabbi Blau showed up at the perfect moment. Okay, question 7. What is Eidin Seif? In other words, what two Mishulam I use classically to explain it, and why do we need both of them? I want you to know like this. Everything we did until now, and it's already 20 after 9, is review of yesterday's Shir. The questions we just read, we did yesterday. Now, I understand that you didn't get them so clear yesterday. I understand that I repeated it today. You think you're hearing it for the first time. That's why I'm repeating it. These are Eidele in Yonim. They're not easy things. Okay? But now that we put down the Yesodis, that the Sugya of Eidin Seif is called the Sugya of Eid v'Shefa, and we established the Mail of Shefa, the Chesaron of Shefa, the Mail of Eid, the Chesaron of Eid, let's move on to Eid, okay? When Hasidus talks about Eidin Seif, they bring two Mishalim. Does anybody know what they are?
Yeah, the Shemesh,
the sun's light,
and the Koyach HaNefesh.
Very good, very nice. The two Mishalim are Eid HaShemesh and Eid HaNefesh. I saw someplace in the Rishima, I think from Frierdiker Rebbe even, that Reb Chaim Ber had gesagt 31 Mishalim of Eidin Seif. There were Maskilim in the old generations who had 31 Mishalim. 31 Mishalim for Eidin Seif. 31 Mishalim for Eidin Seif. In the classic Shug of Eid v'Shefa, they bring 2 Mishalim. Chassidim had many, many more Mishalim. And I'm going to say, believe Sofik was Sveke, that when the Rabbeim said that Reb Chaim Ber was a famous Chassid, who the Frierdiker Rebbe knew in his childhood. He passed away young. He was a Moedendike Kop. He was a mensch. The Rebbe Rashab said about Reb Chaim Ber, mit Chaim Ber hebt schon ticken. Ich bin am Moedendike beim Moyach, aber ich bin ein normaler Rebbe. Reb Chaim Ber, mit Chaim Ber hebt schon ticken. Hat der Rebbe Rashab gesagt. Reb Chaim Ber used to say 31 Mishalom and Eidin Seif. So there's obviously, he didn't make them up. I promise you he didn't make them up. He was smart enough to know that he shouldn't make them up. But he knew Chassidus. But in the Sugya of Eid v'Shefa, they bring 2 Mishal. They bring the Mashal of sunlight, Eid HaShemesh, and they bring the Mashal of Chayis HaNefesh. And of course, you know we have to have 2 Mishalim, because each Mashal by itself is inadequate. Yesh bazeh ma she'ein bazeh, v'yesh bazeh ma she'ein bazeh. By joining a little piece from this Mashal, a little piece from the other Mashal, and saying, I don't really mean it this way, I mean it that way, I mean that the other way, but not the third way, you have to complicate the issue to have a shtikel asaga with Eidin Sefer. You need a little bit of Eid HaShemesh, a little bit of Eid HaNefesh, and all the other things that are going to come up to have a shtikel understanding of the inyan of Eidin Sefer. So, this technical answer to question 7 is, what two mishalim are used classically to explain Eidin Sefer? One is Eid HaShemesh, the other is Eid HaNefesh. Now, why do we need both of them? The second part of question 7, and maybe I should have made it into a separate question, is why do you have to have two mushals? Why can't you use the mushal of sunlight? Why do you have to have side the mushal of sunlight, side the mushal of Eid HaNefesh? Now, you don't know the answer to that question unless you learn Zeis Chukas and Samach. So I'm going to tell you. Okay? Now, but before I tell you, I want to repeat myself. We already established as a yesod that Oid is memela. Remember that? Oid is not shefa. Oid is memela. It comes out by itself. It's only a ha'ara. It's chitzonius. There's none of the etzem. I need you to all nod like penguins in a circus. Yeah, good. Okay, now, you know why you have to have two mishalim? The mashal of Eid HaShemesh brings out the idea of memela. The light of the sun comes from the sun automatically. But Eid HaShemesh has a very big chesed. Eid HaShemesh has a very, very big chesed. Eid HaShemesh has a very big chesed. You know what that is? The Eid is made from the Shemesh behechrich. Could the sun decide to turn off, not to shine light? No. The Shemesh does not own its own Eid. The Eibishter does. Hashem created the Shemesh, and He created the Shemesh to be made al ha'aretz. The Shemesh is not a balabos over the Eid. So the Eid is forced to come from the Shemesh. That's why you have Moshem Chayes HaNefesh. Because Chayes HaNefesh, Taki comes from the Nefesh Memele, but it only comes b'rotzen. It only comes if it wants to. V'harayeh, you take the neshama of a person, and you megalgal him Rachmana Litzlan in the goof of a behema. It's called the tzad of Gilgulim. It will not be made because the chayet, the nefesh, is a balabos over its chayes. Now just think about how much more complicated it just became. I'm going to repeat everything I just said. I'm going to say it a second time. I don't mind saying it a third time. We need two mishalim to explain lahavani and Eidin Sof. Number one, we need the mashal of Eid HaShemesh, because Eid HaShemesh explains the memela aspect. And we need the mashal of Eid HaNefesh to explain the fact that the Eidin Sof only happens if Hashem wants. If Hashem doesn't want, there's no Eidin Sof. Now, Chavre, do you see a contradiction?
Yeah, because this is one mashal for one mashal for shefa. So of course we need two mashalim. I mean,
no. Chayes HaNefesh is not shefa. Chayes HaNefesh is nimsha from the nefesh memela, just like Eid. It's not b'derech pa'ula. But the nefesh can say, I'm not shining.
Where's the mashal for shefa?
The mashal of shefa is forgotten. The mashal of shefa is a cup of water. The mashal of shefa is a dvar seichel. The mashal of shefa is a yifan chush. The mashal of shefa is a yifan midas. Shefa is off the table. You start off by contrasting Eid with shefa, then you forget about shefa and you move on to Eid. We're only talking Eid now. The reason for the mashal of Eid HaShemesh is that the Eid comes in the morning in Mela. The reason for the mashal of Chayes HaNefesh is because Chayes HaNefesh comes b'rotzen. Don't you see a contradiction?
What is there inside Lidosin or
L'cha'ayda, if Eid ain't safe is meir b'rotzen, that's shefa. If the Eibishter chooses whether the oil should be made or not, so he's a balabas over the Eid, so stop memela.
When the midas of the nefesh is shines b'rotzen, and it's not shefa.
But
wait.
wait. Don't confuse me with facts. You're making me nervous. I'll get to you in a minute. You have to understand that these two opposites are the key to it. If you want to understand Eidin Sof, you got to get this. A, it's memela. B, it's berotzen. Now, how could it be memela and be berotzen? This is what the Rebbe Rashab twists himself. He goes crazy to figure out. It's memela. Oir comes from the Eibishter, not better. Hashem is not giving oir. Hashem is not giving oir. Hashem is just ising. Hashem is just being. And memela from moed is nimshach. And again, the way I like to teach it to you. From built-in mitzias comes mitzias. The mitzias comes from the built-in mitzias b'derech memela. If he wanted, it wouldn't be there. If he wanted, it wouldn't be there. But it's not the pshat that it's there because he made it. Because if it's there because he made it, it's shefa. No, it's there memele. But it's there memele in such a way that if the Eibishter wanted, it wouldn't be the memele. The lashon in Chassidus for this is gilui retzenis v'lei rotzen. That's how the Talmud Vav explains it. It ain't safe as a gilui retzenis, but it's not a rotzen. You can't say Hashem wanted it to exist, or it exists memele. But or it exists memele because Eibishter lets it be. So you have to combine two mishalim that put you into a space where you right away understand that godliness is a complicated parsha. It's nishka poshet maisa. When I told you yesterday, Lahavani and Erin Seif consumed Chassidim's lives, it's because it's a very hard thing to understand, and it's the yesod of Gans Chassidus. You don't understand Get Lechkeit, you really don't get the whole business. You don't understand Atzilus, you don't understand Gilui, you don't understand anything. And Erin Seif is full of contradictions. Here is one of the most important contradictions. That the only way to explain Erin Seif is by combining two mishalim. Mashal number one, Eir HaShemesh. The Maila of Eir HaShemesh, the reason Eir HaShemesh is a good mashal, because everybody understands that the sunlight comes from the sun, Memela. The chesaron with Eir HaShemesh is that the sun is not a balabayas over the sunlight, it's behechrech. The sun has no choice. Light is going to come from the sun automatically. That's why you have to have the mashal of Chayes HaNefesh, that even though Chayes HaNefesh is also Nimshach Memela, but Chayes HaNefesh is Nivratzen. Like I told you before, and I'm repeating myself again, if you take the neshama of a person, and Rachmana Litzlan, you megalgal him in the goof of a Baal Chai, as they say in Kabbalah, as they bring sich in Chassidus, the Chayes HaNefesh will not be made. It'll have tzar, gewaldige tzar, but it will not be made. It will not be made because since it's not the goof of a Adam, it doesn't have a Ratzon to be made. So this is very tricky. You can't really call it Ratzon in the sense of I want. Because if it's Ratzon in the sense of I want, it's Shefa. You can only call it Ratzon in the sense of Ritzoinis. That if the Eibishter wanted the Eir, wouldn't be there. But this, that the Eir is there, is an Eifen of B'derech Memeh. Okay, now I say this, what I just told you, is the only thing new Lagabi yesterday. We went over all the questions that I gave you before. Yeah? Our yesterday's Chayre. And the Rebbe says, I've been teaching it to you all year long. Okay? The only thing that's new today specifically is that you have to combine Chayes HaNefesh and Eir HaShemesh together, because only by joining the two together do you have a hasaga, a little bit of how, what's the complication of Erin Seif? Erin Seif comes from the Eibishter Memela and Beratzen. Memela and Beratzen means apples and oranges. It means day and night. If it's Memela, it's not Beratzen. If it's not Memela, and Erin Seif is both. Erin Seif comes from Eibishter Memela, that's why it's only a ha'ara, it's chutz liyatzim. And Erin Seif is Beratzen, because you can't say by the Eibishter Hechrech. If you said that the Eibishter has to have Erin Seif, you're basically saying that there's two gods. Which is bad. Which is very bad. So Chassidus says, take a little bit from this mashal, take a little bit from this mashal, put them together, and see if you can figure it out. How does that work? How could Erin Seif be Memela and Erin Seif be the Tzoynis? You can't call it, like I said to you before. In some of it says you can't call it the Tzoynis, you can't call it the Ratzon, because Ratzon means Kad Mehahede, Ratzon means Chiddush, Ratzon means Shefa. You can only call it the Tzoynis. Okay? Does anybody have any questions or comments?
If the mashal is from the Midas HaNefesh, how does it work by the Midas
I didn't say Midas HaNefesh. I said Chayes HaNefesh.
Chayes HaNefesh. The it's Ratzin, and it's also Memela, no?
Right. First of all, it's a Gila that says, but it's not Me'en HaMoir. In the most of Chayes HaNefesh, you don't have Me'en HaMoir. Not the whole neshama is Mislabish in the Guf. Okay, so you see, Mendy is adding something very, very important. I told you the reason you need two Mishalim is because in the Eir HaShemesh you have Memela, but really, but I should say is in the Eir HaShemesh you have Me'en HaMoir. Everything you have in the source you have in the Oir. And in the mashal of Chayes HaNefesh of the Indian of Ritzenis. Chayes HaNefesh is like a Gili Ritzenis. It's a Gili Memela, it's a Gili Ritzenis, but it's not Me'ein HaMoed. Eir HaShemesh has the Maila being Me'ein HaMoed. Okay? Okay? Does everybody else get what we're saying? What happened to Menachem Mendel Ezer? Young in the mikveh. God bless him. Does anybody have any more questions or comments? I'm doing one more. I'm doing one more question. I'm going to do it number 8. Then I'm going to let you go. And tomorrow morning, I'm going to repeat all of the questions that I did today, and we're going to go weiter. But hopefully we'll do it quicker. If nobody has anything to say, I'm doing question 8. How do we understand the mashal of sunlight as opposed to how it's understood in science? Now, I'm asking this question because if I don't ask it, you're going to ask it. So I figure I'll ask it myself, and I'll save myself the headache. Okay? Chassidus uses the mashal of sunlight as a mashal for Ein Sof. The way physicists understand the sun, it's not a mashal at all. For many reasons. First of all, the sun is finite. The sun is going to burn out. It's at a certain amount of time. Second of all, the sun's light doesn't come out of the sun automatically. The sun has a process. It's called nuclear fusion that produces energy. There's a scientific explanation for how sun's light comes from the sun. In other words, the physical sun that we see in the sky, the way Goyim understand it, or the way Goyishkeit understands it, is not consistent with this at all. This is one of the things you have trouble with when you sit down and learn Chassidus with a Yid who went to college and wait a minute, it doesn't make any sense. You have to understand that the mashal of Eir HaShemesh that Chassidus speaks, it's using the physical sun as a mashal, but it's using the physical sun as a mashal the way Chassidus understands what the Shemesh is. The Chassidus understands the Shemesh to be a ball of fire that's going to be there forever. Chazakim came bottom. It doesn't age, and it doesn't die, and it doesn't run out of fuel. Now, how do you reconcile this with the physical materials? I have a teretz that I made up, but the teretz is not important. What's important is to understand how Chassidus understands. Chassidus understands the sun as a ball of fire that's there forever. Forever. It's not going to get tired, it's not going to get old, it's not going to expand, and it's not going to explode, and it's not going to crunch. The sun is in the sky forever, like it says in the Yerushalmi, Chazakim Kiemi Bar. The Eibishter made the sun 5,780 years ago. If the world would exist, believe Volzman, the sun would always be there. Moreover, when Chassidus talks about the light of the sun, coming from the sun, it's not the pshat that the light of the sun is coming out of the sun, because the sun is burning fuel. Making, what is it? Hydrogen atoms into helium atoms. That's not what's happening. The sun is just passively sitting in the sky, and the light comes from the sun but made. In other words, I put this question in so that you shouldn't ask it. I'd rather ask it myself. I'll save time that way. The way we understand the sun today, and the reason I say the word today is because scientists are always changing their mind. They understand the sun as not being light at all. Torah sees the sun as an etzem behidi. It's a ball of fire that's going to be there forever. Forever. It's never going to dry up. And the light is not coming out of the sun because the sun is
scattered throughout the universe. The one at the center of our...
So someone is doing research as we speak. The sun in Torah is a ball of fire that's there forever. It's never going to age. And the sun is not actively burning fuel to produce light, but rather simply by sitting in the sky, the light comes from it. So there's a very big difference, a huge difference, between the way we understand the sun, lahav l'chochmas l'tzenius today, as a nuclear furnace, as a physical thing, and the way it's explained in Hasidus. Hasidus' model of Shemesh is completely different than the physical understanding of the Shemesh, because, number one, in the Hasidic model of Shemesh, the sun is not aging. It's not going to die. It's not going to burn up its fuel. Number two, it's not doing something to produce oil. It's just ising. It's just being. The oil comes from the source, memela. So even the mashal is hard to understand. Forget about how the mashal applies to the nimshal. Even the mashal of Eir HaShemesh is hard to understand. Because the way physicists understand the mashal of Eir HaShemesh is very, very different the way Samach Vav teaches us the mashal of Eir HaShemesh. Okay, now again, I'm not saying this because I'm trying to make it into kursim. I'm not saying this because I'm trying to raise in your mind shvekis. I'm saying this because I know sooner or later you're going to ask me. So I'm telling you up front that even though we use the mashal of Eira Shemesh to explain it ain't safe, you have to understand this Eira Shemesh is Eira Shemesh, which is written in a Maimer. Is the way Chassidus explains Eira Shemesh. Now, what about the kashis? What about the fact that the way scientists understand the Shemesh is so different than the way we do? So I'm not going to answer the question. I'm just going to give you a code. And the code is the following. There are 3 Hebrew words for Shemesh. There are 3 Hebrew words for the sun. And there's 3 Hebrew words for the Yareach also. The 3 Hebrew words for the sun are Cheres, Chamo, and Shemesh. The 3 Hebrew words for the Yareach are Sahar, like Sihara, Yareach, and Lavona. And these are 3 different madregas in the physical sun and in the physical moon. I'm going to repeat the words again. There are 3 Hebrew words for sun. Cheres, Chama, and Shemesh. There's 3 Hebrew words for the moon. Sahar, Yareach, and Lavona. And I believe, and I have shtiklach raya to it, that the scientists are talking about Cheres. The Evdi Aveda Zara are talking about Chama. Chassidus is talking about Shemesh. Ki Shemesh Hamogan Havai Elikim. The same physical ball in the sky that you see, that produces light, that gives us life, La'od Ha'aretz. Goyishkeit only understands it on the Madreg of Cheres. The Evdi Aveda Zara were Evdim Lachama, not Evdim L'Shemesh, Evdim Lachama, or to Galgal Chama. And Tate is speaking about Veistach Shimshen al Shmesh al HaKadosh Baruch Hu Nikra Kshenemar Ki Shemesh U'Mogen Havai Elikim. In other words, in the physical sun, there's 3 madregas. And what Chassidus is talking about, and what the physicist is talking about, is late cut. It's 2 different things. But it's important, and again, I'm not explaining this, I'm not giving you my own pshetlach, because that's exactly what they are. They're pshetlach. But I'm just opening up your mind to understand. I'm not trying to bring science here. I'm just trying to take away confusion. If you studied the stars, the sun, in Chochmas Chitzenius, and you have one understanding of the sun, and then you'll learn a Maimeh Chassidus which gives you a totally different understanding of the sun, it's because they're talking about different things. The scientist is talking about the sun and the madrega that's physical, Cheres, and Tate is talking about the sun and madrega of Shemesh. It's a physical body, but has ruchniistic properties. And the Shemesh, number 1, it's never dying. The Shemesh doesn't die, it doesn't age. It's not going to burn up its fuel. Number 2, it's not doing something for the air to come out of it. It's just sitting in the sky, and the air is made from it, memela. If you understand that mashal of Eira Shemesh, that's half the mashal to understanding Eir Safe. To understand Eir Safe completely, you also have to have Chayis HaNefesh, because although Eira Shemesh is Maila, is the inyan of Eir Mein HaMoed, but it's behechrich. The sun is not a balabas over its Eir. And that's why you have to have the mashal of Chayis HaNefesh, because the inyan of Ratzon. But you can't use the word Ratzon, because you use the word Ratzon using the word Mechudesh and using the word Shefa. So you use the word Retzonis, Azay Shteit in Samachval. So let me put it to you straight. If we finish this share right now, and you're confused, that's good. If we finish this share right now, and you're not confused, you missed something. Because I bombed you. I just gave you a gewalt with information. Tomorrow morning, I hope to come earlier, because mostly the sheet is written. I'm gonna add to this sheet the questions that we're gonna review all the questions from the beginning. We're gonna go more quickly. In other words, the ones we did today and yesterday, I'm gonna go more quick, and we're gonna move through this piece of paper. Okay? Questions or comments?
Yeah, I just didn't get, what was the name of the sun? Cheres?
Ches Reish Samach. Right. Cheres.
Isn't it like a
part of the sun that they're right about?
My opinion is that scientists only understand Cheres. When
Cheres has to burn stuff?
The physical, that's right. The physical, the way they look at the sun, it's a nuclear furnace with a finite amount of hydrogen, and because of pressure, because of gravity, the hydrogen atoms are being made into helium atoms. In other words, they're squeezed together and they're made larger atoms. And when they're made into larger atoms, they release a certain amount of energy, and that's sunlight. But when they run out of hydrogen, the sun is going to collapse. It's a finite thing. Now, They use numbers like 10 billion years or 2 billion years, but this is pratim. Apitoira, the Chama is not aging. I'm sorry? You can't hear
Maybe
me.
they just have it totally wrong. Maybe there's like no truth in it.
It's possible.
Maybe,
It's possible.
what?
It's possible. But I like my explanation better. But okay, Gesundheit. Ich verginde mit dem ganzen Herzen. But I just want you to know that you have to appreciate that when you learn the mashal of Eir HaShemesh in Chassidus, you can't automatically think of sunlight the way you know sunlight. Because for many reasons, sunlight is not oir. For many reasons, sunlight is shefa. For many reasons. This is only one of them.
So what am I supposed to think?
You're supposed to think that what Chassidus says is emes.
That we know that. Whoa.
So then you have no problems. That's all.
But we can't understand it. Yes, I'm a the marshal. It's supposed to be a marshal that we can understand, no?
Yeah, so you understand the mashal. But it's different than the way the scientists today, to use your words, understand that mashal.
Okay, who cares what the scientists say?
I'm with you. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? So ich gehe live and my minion. My minion is 9:45. Tomorrow I'm gonna go now to my computer, add the questions that I just spoke out. Tomorrow we're gonna start from the beginning again, but we'll go through the questions faster and we'll move farther. Okay? So guys, I'm a little bit not cheating you. This one time I'm actually talking a little bit. Usually every time I talk about Elka, I say it's a big subject, we can't talk about it. We're talking about it. Okay?